So we are using AI to design and implement websites. But then in the near future, everyone is going to ask an AI to find that website for you. So that means that are we building websites for humans or for machines? I invite you to stay and listen and watch this conversation that I have with two of my colleagues in the world of web design, where we're trying to guess what do we think is going to happen with the AI revolution in the web design industry.
So thank you for being on this episode of Made by Human, where we try to rescue what is the role of humans in this new AI revolution. And in this specific conversation is going to be about how AI is impacting web design and graphic design now in the short term, and what do we think is going to happen in 10, 20 years in the future. And for this conversation, I have invited two of my colleagues, Rachel and Veronica. They are both also web designers. We are from different backgrounds, three different brains. We are actually in different part of the world. So it's going to be very interesting to see what comes up in this conversation. I would like to hear from you. So let's start with Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
Hey. So a little bit about me. I am currently in Thailand, but I travel around. I've been traveling for the past 3 years. And I started off with a graphic design business, mostly web design, but also brand development. And then I was in London. I was traveling through Europe, and I pretty much lost like most of my design clients overnight because AI just was able to do my job all of a sudden. And it was really scary. And I went through like a long process of trying to figure out how to salvage it. And I ended up switching to AI temporarily and learning it from the inside out. And I've been working in AI for a couple of years now. And I'm not afraid of it anymore. I'm really excited about it. So that's me.
Awesome. I'm Veronica. Hello. I run a web design and development studio based out of Melbourne in Australia called Magella Studio. I started the business about 7 years ago as what was supposed to be sort of like a marketing consulting business for small businesses, which very quickly evolved into a web design and development studio because a lot of the businesses I was working with at the time were really, really small. They really had no idea where to start with their marketing. And as much as I wanted to do all of it, I couldn't as one person. And I believed back then, and I still believe, that your website should be like this main hub of all of the marketing and this place where everything can be directed back to. So I figured that was a good place to start for them, and my business grew from there. So these days we focus very strongly on creating websites that do more than look good, obviously, that function really well for the client. So one of the big things that I do at the start of a project is try and work out not just what the pain points the client has with their current website, but what they have with their business. And if there's something that we can do to make the site work better for them. And that's where AI presents some really cool opportunities. And it also makes things a lot more accessible to some of my clients, particularly the smaller ones that they didn't have access to in the past. I also work really closely with other creatives and other collaborators, similar to both of you, because I do believe that growing a project with a whole heap of experts who know exactly what they're doing in their field really adds value to the project and for the client. So that's a big part of what I do. And moving forward, we're also leaning a little bit more into experience-based websites. So not traditional websites for business, but more for an add-on that a business is potentially offering, or an experience that doesn't necessarily need to rank, which also presents just a whole heap of new opportunities in the space, which is lovely.
In my case, same thing. Website, web design for many years. Now I'm trying to incorporate AI during the processes because now everything is about AI. But I'm struggling on, let's start with the short term. We are already integrating AI. We are including AI in our process. And what would be your point of view on the cost of building a website for a client? For example, we have been having this perspective where, how long does it take you to build a logo or to do a poster, a graphic design? If we can do it with AI, instead of quoting 10 work hours for building a logo, in theory, you can make it in an hour with AI, maybe just do tiny updates. But there is always a discussion about, okay, if I give you a design human made that is going to take me 2 weeks, will you pay more for that? Or if I give you a design made in an hour, are you going to pay less for that because it's efficient? So it's always like, if I give you a result quick, it should be more valuable and you should charge more. But there is misconceptions about, okay, if you're doing it with AI, therefore it's cheaper and quicker. How are you guys dealing with the communication with clients are asking for a solution and they know that we might be using AI in our process? Are they expecting you to charge less now? How is this transition happening in your businesses?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I like that you've started with like how we're communicating with clients, because I've found that so much around the AI conversation has come down to communicating. And in a way, I'm discussing it with them in the same way I've always discussed other things that add value for them. Because ultimately, if we are doing something quickly, it's still coming from this place of, I know their business really well, and that's why I can get the data out of AI really quickly and get the end result for them. It's very, and communicating the fact that what we can potentially get out of AI as a design business versus what the client can get out of AI on its own are two very different things. So communicating that value and sort of highlighting our human expertise in the process has been a big part of that, because the more they understand how we use it, I find the more receptive they are to it.
Absolutely. I agree. Communicating that value is massive. And really that's where the miscommunication comes into play in the first place, is if you aren't good at communicating it. So kind of detailing out like what you need to do, and then also offering options, I think can go a long way. So I like to offer packages. Like if they want to work with something a little more like slower or long term, they don't want a risk job, then they can pay less. That's fine. Or if they want to, take advantage of how quick AI can do the work as well, then they should pay more. I think if they want it done tomorrow, it's going to cost more.
I think that also helps navigate the concept that, well, if you could do it with AI, why can't I? Like, why am I paying you to do something design-based when essentially AI is doing it? And highlighting to the client that AI is just a tool that we're using to do it and not doing all of the work comes into it, I think, a little bit as well, just playing off that.
So what I can hear is that AI is making us more efficient, is helping us to deliver faster, but so far at this early stage, it's not impacting, or we're not sacrificing or value or cost the value that we add to the client. So it's like we have a new tool that will allow us to deliver quicker, better, faster, but that doesn't mean that our work is less as humans, and that doesn't mean that I have an AI assistant, therefore I'm supposed to charge you cheaper. So it's like it's a new system, a new tool. Imagine before the design tools, people used to design logos by hand and do logos in a very complicated platforms, and then you can design logos way quicker. So it's a new platform, but your talent as a designer, still human talent. So now we have a new tool, a new system. Yes, I can use AI, but it doesn't mean that my job is supposed to be valued less because I have a new system, right? We still see AI as a new tool system opportunity that allow us to make our work quicker, faster, but the value and the cost should, for now, stays the same. I guess we are not being affected by that yet, right?
I think so. That's what I'm finding. It's also, when I've been talking to clients, it's putting a lot more of an emphasis on, obviously we're a website design studio predominantly, but we work with a lot of branding designers and we work on larger projects where we incorporate branding. So from the branding perspective, it's putting more value on the strategy as well, because obviously AI, if you're talking about logo design, you're going to use it as a tool to help create this graphic, but that's only not even a quarter of what the entire brand's going to be. So it's putting a lot of emphasis back on the strategy and making sure the client can see the value in that as well. But yeah, very much using it as a tool at this point in time.
Yeah, for that reason, I think also traditional creative roles might shift more towards like strategy, high level conceptual direction, and also AI system management, which sounds not super artistic, but can be, as I've learned from working with image and video and AI. It is an art in some ways. But yeah, the strategy of it, I think we can focus more energy on making designs that make sense and that are effective. We can put more into that. You can also use AI to do that a little bit, but it's not good enough on its own. You need the human element for that, for sure.
That's good. So that's the positive side of what is happening now in the short term. What do you think is that people is scared about? Oh, so we're losing our jobs. AI is taking over. Now AI can do websites and graphic design. So I don't have a job anymore. So if we see that right now, like us, that we are in the industry, we're being impacted by AI in a positive way so far. What do you think people are actually scared of then? It's just because they are not on board of what's happening? Because it is true that AI is not taking your job. It's just the person who is using AI who might take your job. So if we still see AI as a tool, it does sound like if you do it right, if you learn and you upscale your skills with AI solutions, you are still relevant in the industry, in the web design industry in this aspect. Or well, let's talk about I don't want to say negative or the difficult part of this. Do you see actually people losing jobs in the short term? What kind of skills are no longer required to build a strategy, to build a logo, branding, and website? Because so far everything sounds wonderful. We are just being better, but what would be the negative side of this?
You could definitely get left behind if you don't try to learn the tools, and you don't get on top of them. You kind of just continue doing what you were doing. Yeah, you're going to get left behind, just like any other disruption. But I think most jobs can use it to an advantage. It's just you have to be willing to get out there and be curious and learn new tools. That's the key. I think there's a lot of people that, to quote The Incredibles, when everyone's special, no one will be. I think that saying is kind of going around, because now all of these people, it's like when we all got smartphones, we all became photographers. But, you can look at a photo and still tell, if someone is actually trying, if someone really knows, if they have talent. Not everyone's a photographer. It just felt like that for a second. And I think AI is the same way with art. Not everyone's going to be an artist now because they can type in up prompts make me a painting that is it's not the same. It's still not the same. And so I think the floor to that is quality. So superpowers are binary, but quality is on a spectrum. So I think that's a huge difference. And so there's still a huge range to work with there, luckily, because talent it varies for sure.
It absolutely does. And I think, as far as negatives go, yes, some very low level repetitive tasks with those kinds of jobs can be replaced with AI. But I think most jobs, particularly in our industry, when you're talking design based, are quite broad these days. I think they've already had to adapt a fair bit. So I've read a lot about potentially very junior roles possibly being replaced. But I think the better way to look at that is to possibly have it as a new skill that the juniors need to learn, as how they can implement certain things and where they should let their own creativity take over and that sort of thing as well. Because I think the biggest thing that we forget is I don't know about the two of you, but half of my job is challenging clients because they think they want one thing, but they in fact want something else. So if they're going to go and just put that prompt into AI, it's going to give them what they want, but it's not necessarily what they need. So I think that's another skill that potentially needs to come through a little bit more. I know that wasn't really a negative, but yeah, that's just sort of the way I've been looking at it.
No, I think that's perfect. That's what we're trying to rescue here is the role of humans in this revolution. Us as human web designers is not going to be only instruction followers from a client and say, hey, I need a website. You have to say this, it needs to look pretty, and we implement what the client says. But because we're adding more value as humans, we have to have a high level quality perspective that what do you actually need? We might able to ask questions to clients that an AI might not do yet, right? Like, okay, I'm going to build an AI. AI right now is just an instruction follower. And sometimes if the client doesn't know what they need, us as web designers, we add more value to seeing the overall business. Look, this is what you want, this is what you need, but what about this? So that human skill, I think, is still relevant. And humans are still 100% relevant in the web design industry if you really want a good result, right? So it is true that you can do a logo with AI, you can do a website with AI, but it's you as a client communicating with an AI who's following your instructions. So the role of a web designer as human is someone in between there to make you achieve that better. So like any tool, yes, I'm going to use this tool to make your website, but I'm just the expert on that field that is going to achieve better results for your business, right? Because we're talking right now still on the present and the short-term future, and we are adapting to these changes. What would we say to the students, the people who are just finishing their degree? I have a few friends who are finishing their degree on graphic design. They're learning Photoshop, Adobe, traditional ways to present something, and they're going out there to a world that is being taken over by AI. What would be a suggestion for the younger generation who are just starting to get a degree on as a web designer, for example?
Oh, that's a good question. It's a perfect timing because I've got an intern working with me at the moment, and the amount that I haven't had to tell her, like, try and run that through ChatGPT to check that code or something like that, she's already doing that. So I think it's actually coming in. The speed thing's a big one. And I think I remember when I was going through university, and it was always like 5 to 10 years behind. Like, I was doing marketing and they weren't teaching us digital marketing. And I think that's starting to get quicker. And I think that's probably partly a result of AI, and everything has to start to get quicker. So people who are coming through now are already being taught to start to use it again as a tool, though. And I think that's a big thing for anyone starting your career, because I think if you want to try and stand out, showing that you can use the tool really well, but also showing that you can do Photoshop and everything a little bit more traditionally from scratch if needed, would be a good balance. But yeah, I think the speed's going to continue to increase. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So I think it's more learning to adapt with that speed than anything else.
Yeah. These tools, they're amazing, and you definitely should incorporate them into like your educational process. But sometimes they don't work, and so you don't want to be stuck in a situation where you think you could just rely on AI, and then it doesn't do it. It doesn't render it properly, because this will happen a lot. So yeah, I agree. You need to like learn how to do these things manually as well, and understand how they work and what the AI is even doing, or what the like in Photoshop, if you're asking it to cover something up, for example, what is that? How is it doing that? What is it doing with the pixels? You need to understand the manipulation there. And then also, I think, playing around with those tools, especially the Adobe AI tools, but then also following what new tools are coming out and being really aware of like specific LLMs for different areas of design. Like there's LLMs for UX, there's LLMs for website design. You can type in a prompt and have it generate a website. Not that requires too much skill, but learn what those tools are that do require the skill, and practice with them, play around with them. I recommend, I really love this newsletter called The Clearpreneur. Joshua Clear, he just is sending out so much gold every week. This is how I stay up with AI. And so for students that want to know like what tools are coming out, and like what to look out for, and what to expect as it's rapidly evolving, I would recommend like following a newsletter like that, listening to podcasts, just staying on top of it pretty consistently, because it's changing. Like every week there's a new bomb dropped.
It's also, I think, building on what you were saying about sometimes they don't work and you need to know how to do it a different way as well. It's also a different way of thinking. And I think if you're just starting your career and you haven't had to do it from scratch very much, then it's a completely different way of approaching something. It's just, in a way, I kind of look at it like the difference between like writing something out by hand and typing it. Like my brain works differently depending on which way I'm doing it. So I think if the students, the fact that they're learning how to put those right prompts in to get the best out of these tools is really important. But also being able to think in a completely different way if they're building it from scratch is also really important, and they can't really lose either of those if they want to progress.
Yeah, design thinking is like so important. Understanding the concepts, the elements of design, understanding what that world is. Yeah, exactly. AI is not going to teach you that. You need to do it from practice and playing around with things, you know?
Yeah. And breaking things and making mistakes. Like, yeah.
Yes. And you need to know the rules in order to break them.
That's a good one. Exactly. You need to know how everything works to understand how to break and disrupt. And in creativity, in web design, there's always something changing. You know, there are trends. AI might do the same kind of layout websites, but you as a human, you might have a spark of creativity and you want to do something different. It might be easier if you understand the system to do the tweak by yourself instead of expecting the AI to understand what is it that you have in mind. Yeah. So let's say you have a graphic design, AI give you a good idea, but you have a spark of creativity and you want to do something different. I think the role as humans is that you need to understand the tools, you need to understand the AI as an assistant to do it for you slightly quicker. But if you have a good knowledge of how the tool actually works, you might be able to modify yourself to put your human input, your human skill and creativity way better than expecting to give the right prompt to see if the AI understood what you had in mind, right? If you have this challenge to do it yourself, the skills to do it yourself, it might be even better.
And the satisfaction of problem solving some of that yourself is also generally higher if you found it while you've been looking at it too.
Yeah. I think in terms of getting the AI to do what you want, I will say, I think that prompting is teaching us how to communicate better what we want, and can also help us communicate better with clients in that way. If we learn how to clearly articulate like what it is we're trying to accomplish, then there's a lot less that's left up to any assumption or misinterpretation. So like you can see by trial and error when you're not communicating properly, the results of that visually, you can see the results of that. Whereas before, I think maybe we thought we were communicating well and we weren't, or we had to find out like after a lot of work and turning something in, putting in giving a client a deliverable, then realizing that we miscommunicated, you know? So that's one interesting side effect of prompting that I think could actually be positive.
Yeah, I mean, learning to prompt's definitely a skill, but I think that's positive on both sides. I think it helps the client give feedback as well, because a lot of the time clients will give you incredibly not constructive feedback, and they'll be, I just don't like that page. And I'll be like, well, that's not helpful. So it's, yeah, I think it comes from both sides.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a classic way. That's a huge problem when working with clients. They just don't like something and they don't know how to say what they don't like. So our job is to be mind readers a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And I think AI can kind of help us do that a little more.
Yeah.
That is true. Good. So now let's try to recap briefly what we have said so far. So far, we noticed that it is a tool. The human skills is highly needed. It's not that AI is going to build websites 100% for a client. I mean, the tool is there, but the client will hire a web designer who is expert in AI, because the result is going to be way better if you add the human talent, the human value, and the human creativity. That means that us as web designers, yes, we still have a lot of work to do, as long as you upscale your skills using AI, because you might need to deliver better, quicker, more quality results using AI as a tool. So so far it sounds like a very positive system that is going to give us good feedback both ways. We might design and present things quicker and better, and also the client will also provide feedback, and client will be able to express better what they need. So AI is a communication tool as well between clients and web designers. Yeah, that will be the recap of the first part. Does that sound like I missed something?
No, I think that's good.
Yeah, I think you covered it.
Yeah. Okay, and the students who are just graduating, keep in mind that you are going to jump to a reality where everything is changing very fast. So whatever tool you learn in the university right now, keep in mind that 2, 3, 4 years, probably there is something new. So you have to develop a skill of self-learning all the time. You have to develop curiosity. You have to be on board what's happening in this world of web design and technology. Everything is changing, and you just have to keep your open mind that whatever you learn now in a year, you might need to upscale all the time, which is fun and entertainment. You're going to be jumping into an industry of web design that is always evolving, so it's always challenging and always something. There is always something new to learn. Good. So we're gonna jump into the future. This is going to sound slightly sci-fi because we were thinking about this is now. 5 years in the future, well, might be different. What about 10 years, 20 years in the future with these AI technologies using websites? What do we think that is going to be a website in 10, 20 years in the future? And let's put the example of a restaurant. We design a website for a restaurant and they want an order online system with a menu that displays the products, and someone orders online, pay online, and I get my food delivered from home. That's happening nowadays. You need a website for that. Even if you have Uber Eats and you have different kind of apps, the website for a restaurant was a presentation of the restaurant with the menu, photos, text, content, and a system to order online. That's now. Let's think about 10, 20 years in the future that humans won't need anymore to Google and search for a restaurant, because you're going to have AI pretty much listening in your home, on your phones, everywhere. And you can talk and say, I feel like having Indian food today. Can you please search what restaurants is open right now in my neighborhood? And I want something that has a vegan option. And my budget is around $20 and that can be delivered quick. The AI will do that search and it will talk to you and say, well, I found these options. It is open now. What about chicken curry? Whatever, right? Yes, that sounds good. Please send it to home and you receive the order. In that transaction from a human trying to place an order to a restaurant, at that future, that's why this is going to be a little bit like sci-fi. We are predicting, we don't know what's going to happen. We're just thinking ahead. What do we think is going to happen 20 years in the future? There was no need of a human looking at the website for that specific transaction. The human didn't see if the website was well designed, probably didn't even see the pictures. It was all about AI communication. The AI found the website or the menu and then sent it to you. So we were talking that website in the future is going to be more about experience. We don't know if a human would like to see a website or just a picture of the products, or many websites that they were used for transaction between human and a restaurant placing an order and sending to a human. They might not need a website as we think it is a website nowadays. So we put that example of a restaurant. Of course, this doesn't apply for many different businesses that they do still need a website. But what do you guys think that is going to happen in the future when the AI is going to find the websites for you and is going to present options for you? You didn't even have to check the menu, and it's going to help you to choose what option goes for you, and you can place an order via communication with an AI, and then you receive the order at your home. What do you think?
What you're talking about, I think, already exists. It's the concept of AI agents who kind of just are thinking for themselves at this point. Like, so let's say the AI, like, it starts to like learn your preferences over time. It can just kind of start to make decisions for you. Like it'll know what you want to eat. So you don't have to like go through a menu and search. It just will start to know. So a lot of that is going to be, it's going to eliminate some choice paralysis, maybe, hopefully, which is good. But also, I think a lot of it's happening more behind the scenes and is going to change the role of UI designers, because UI is not going to be traditional, and maybe like holographic screens, sure, but also maybe more just like talking. Maybe interfaces and the user experience is more about like just using your brain or talking or whatever. With the Neuralink chip, who knows, it could just be thinking. So we could gamify it too, like we do with everything. There could even be an olfactory component where like you smell something in a restaurant menu and that influences your decision, and the AI knows that because it's like implanted. I don't know how futuristic you want to go, but I think it can.
You can go crazy with this idea, because if this is going to happen, let's say in 20 years, 30 years, I don't think I'm going to retire building websites if that's the case, the way I do it nowadays, right? If this is going to happen, the Neuralink is already there 10, 20, 30 years in the future. That sounds like there are going to be a completely different demand. The example that you're saying, Rachel, imagine if in a future, like I say, we're going to talk in a future sci-fi kind of, we don't just have to build a website for a client. We need to build, a virtual reality experience, because everyone is going to have the glasses or something I want to order. Yes, I know what I want, but I'm a very visual person. I would like to see how the plate is presented, or I want to see how the food looks like. And probably if I'm at home and I really want to have a virtual experience of how the restaurant is before I go there and book it, I might just put my glasses and see the entire experience. And our role maybe of presenting solutions to clients in the digital world will need to scale, not just a website. We might have to go to something higher as a completely different experience for helping clients to choose your services or your restaurant or your business, right?
I think there's going to be more of a focus, if that is the way the future is going, which obviously it's very, very possible that it is. I think there's going to be a lot more of a focus on experience and brand in that instance, because even if in that restaurant example, the customer's not actually looking at the site, the AI still needs a way to pull out the things that they know that this person really wants. So having a really established brand that is an expert in its field and that the AI is aware of that. We're already seeing AI chatbots scan and show up websites in part of their results. So making sure that you've got a really solid basis behind a brand and you haven't just started a business to do something and you don't have a key point of difference, I think that's going to start to come through as well. But from the experience side of things, I think we're definitely already seeing that. There's plenty of brands and businesses that have got the ability to create these online worlds. I was talking to a friend the other day about like writing a children's book, but as a website. So there's just so many different ways that you can do it. And yeah, I think you'll just start to see experience and brand becoming a lot more important than necessarily the service itself.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see what that looks like for education. I think it could be really transformative if we're willing to invest in education, that is, but I think it could do amazing things. I would really like to see virtual reality worlds where like we're implementing AR and VR into the classroom, and kids are able to go experience, ancient Egypt, like, and mess around with that world and like, interact with maybe AI NPCs in that world and see what it was really like, make it more engaging, make people care more, make it more meaningful. I think it's hard to relate with some things that you're learning when you're a kid and you're just reading from a textbook. So I think it could be really cool, and also just open up people's minds to appreciate each other's differences more. If you can step into somebody else's shoes through that technology, I think you can become a more well-rounded person and a little less close-minded.
And in this preparation, something that we tell our clients sometimes when they ask, do I need a website nowadays if, I need to be found in Google? And do I need so much text on my website, a copywriter and all this content? I'm trying to tell the clients that they have to think about this future, that whatever you're offering, your business, your new business that is starting, needs to be out there in the internet if you want to be found, not just by humans, but also by AIs. So sometimes I tell the clients, like, keep in mind that yes, a human might not read the entire content of your website, but Google does, AI will. So the content on your website nowadays, I'm building a website with a nice user experience. All this beautiful website is made for humans to see and engage, but also you have to have good quality, good structure, and good content for an AI in the future to find my website, to be able to recommend my service to someone. So websites are still relevant, and I think whoever needs a business now and you want to be relevant in 5-10 years, you have to start now, put your business out there, and it's a non-stop in evolving, because your business has to be there in the AI searches, I believe. So yeah, I think that's where everything is going now. You create a product online to be found by humans, but also to be found by AIs. I think maybe crazy.
Yeah, SEO is a whole different world now.
10 years in the future, we don't know yet. There's going to be hundreds of different ways to feed an AI to reply something related to your services. We don't know yet it's going to be 100% dedicated to how many clicks you have on your website. We don't know yet what's going to happen with Google Ads, if searching by keywords is going to be relevant in the future. But we're getting there and we're preparing for it. Let's see what happens.
The metrics are definitely going to change, but the main source being the website and sort of how that evolves, it'll change how we potentially build sites and maybe the way that we prioritize content and that sort of thing. But it's definitely still for the foreseeable future still going to be extremely important. I do a lot of work with brand focused sort of SEO and copywriters. And we're already seeing clients asking about it and already seeing slight differences between how a particular website's coming up in an AI search for the top 5 in that industry and how it's ranking in Google. And when you've got web platforms, obviously Wix is already putting it in the back to show us how many chatbots have crawled the site that day and all that sort of thing. So you'll definitely say I think it'll start to impact the way we measure the success of a site pretty soon. Well, I mean, it already is. And also potentially the way we start to build and design the sites, possibly as we see how it affects it moving forward. And I guess we can prepare, and there's like, if you look back in history at the other revolutions that you were talking about, like there's always something that people were really scared of. And then as they adapted and got used to it, like it was fine. Nothing happened when 1999 turned into 2000, the computers were okay. Like it's that sort of thing. And obviously not to minimize it, there's so much there that we're going to have to prepare for. But it'll be really interesting to look back on this in 10 years and be like, we didn't need to be worried about that, or I didn't even see it going that way, that sort of thing.
Yeah, really I hope so. I hope that the future is nothing that we thought that was going to be. Not like these movies, because all these movies are always showing that AI is going to take over, Terminator, WALL-E, all those. There are not many movies or books out there and if someone is listening to this, please drop a comment about the positive aspect of humans living with technology so integrated in the culture that maybe we save the planet, maybe we save ourselves, maybe we upscale in a next human race with AI enhancements, and it's going to be beautiful and amazing. I want to keep thinking that so far we maybe are not good at predicting. Like you said before, we thought that the world was going to end in many, many ways before, and we're still here and we're evolving. So I hope this new technology take us to a good positive side, beautiful rainbow butterfly. I hope there is a new good future there with AI integrated with humans.
I mean, even the scary stories though, most of them are like terrifying. It's
Yeah.
sci-fi horror, but even those stories, they're all like so beautiful too. Like watching Black Mirror, I get so like into that world. I mean, so like if what I'm saying is, if even if we crash and burn, at least it's gonna like look really cool.
That's good. We will make a website about it. This was amazing. One productive hour. Rachel, Veronica, thank you for spending this time with me here. I think we have recapped very well our thoughts. If someone wants to share their ideas, we want to continue these conversations. Let's say that this is our first conversation. From here, we can invite more people who want to add something else, something new. Everything is changing, so we're going to keep recording the impact of AI in different fields. Web design is one of them, and let's see what happens in a few years then. Thank you so much for being here, and we will be in touch.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun talking to you guys.
Yay, do like this. Yay.
Yeah.
Not machine, not art. We think, we dream, we plot. Made by human, not illusion. This is made by